18th edition of the Marketing Conclave, which is powered by IAMAI in association with Web Engage with innovation partner as Zapads. We've been discussing different facets of marketing which are futuristic, which are going to make sure that your consumers not only engage with you, but actually interact also. We started the morning with conversations of Metaverse, transitioned into retention market, into the facets of content marketing, including influencer marketing, so on and so forth. And the topic, which is the 7th topic for the day, is on the realm of marketing in the metaverse, why, what, and how. And to navigate the conversation, I have the pleasure of calling on stage our moderator for the session, Mr. Ashvin Vellody, partner Deloitte. Can we give him a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? And joining him on stage are the illustrious set of our panel members who had already started the panel discussion much before the stage on, and they were talking very passionately about the next up technologies which are coming. So I'm very, very sure that this is going to be a very gripping dialogue. So let me call on stage Ms. Chaaya Baradhwaaj, a founder, managing director at BC Webwise. A big round of applause for her. Followed by Mr. Raveesh, Bhatnagar, Industry Head, Financial Services at Meta. And we also have with us Mr. Vishal, Subharwal, Chief Marketing Officer, Head of E-Commerce and Digital Business, HDFC Life, as our panel members. So with these illustrious set of people who are going to be sharing a lot of pragmatic insights, I hand over the stage to you, sir.
Thank you. Hope everyone can hear me, and we are past the food siesta. So good afternoon. I think here I'm looking forward to this conversation with Raveesh, Vishal, and Chaaya from 2-3 perspectives. You know, here I think you've got the industry, which Vishal kind of represents. You got one of the key players in Meta, which Raveesh represents. And you've got Chaaya trying to bring in all the expertise from her organization into how to advise and how to implement. And you've got someone like me who provides lots of advice to clients all across India in terms of what they need to do. So we'll get started. Maybe we'll start with you, Vishal, first. The why, what, and how. So from the stakeholder that you are, which is representing enterprise, in how do we use this? What are some key observations you have at this stage? There is, as the report Deloitte released earlier, there is some hype, there is some reality, and there is some actual stuff that you see. So maybe you can get started.
Yeah, so thank you, Ashwin. All three is actually true: hype, reality, and future possibilities. So the way I look at it is, the metaverse is obviously an advertising platform, potential advertising platform, but also equally importantly, it's a great enterprise solution, especially for organizations which are managing large workforces, which are distributed workforces. So there's one end where you can use it for branding, for purchases, and stuff like that, right? At the other end, you can use it to drive loyalty programs, engagement with customers. But if you're running, let's say, a 25,000 strong workforce, how do you ensure that people across the country, and if you're a global organization, how do you ensure that people across the globe get trained, get onboarded in a very seamless manner? Yeah. They receive the same kind of training. They experience the same organization wherever they are in the world, right? So as an enterprise solution, people coming together, doing work sites, meetings, conferences, a lot of it is feasible, right? And hopefully over a period of time, it will happen at a cost which is lower than what it is today, right? So if from a brand perspective, the ROI becomes better, the experience becomes superior to what you get in today's setup. Obviously, as advertisers, we will move there. And similarly, enterprises, if they find it the experience better for consumers and for their workforce, again, engagement, cost of doing business, if it becomes lower, or at least it becomes more engaging, then definitely as enterprises also, organizations will move into the metaverse.
Will shift, right?
Yeah, but it's a journey. Yeah. It's a journey. Let me also tell you is today if I go and tell my management team that give me a few crores to put in the metaverse, they'll ask me, what is it? Like, yeah. Why do you need it? What is the ROI? What is ROI? What is the business case for it, right? Yeah. So the only way one can fund it is look at it as some sort of an innovation budget, some amount of experimentation companies, brands would need to do over the next few years before they build their own vision of what the metaverse can do for them.
No, fair enough, Vishal. And I think you said it's some of each, not that it's all. So Chaaya, maybe I'll come to you next, Raveesh, but maybe Chaaya. So to build on what Vishal said, what are some views that you see from your vantage point, especially given maybe perhaps some the cost angle, maybe the device angle? What is your perspective? How should marketing in Metaverse and how should it work from how you are looking?
I think Metaverse, first of all, is, like even your report is saying, it is going to become a reality. We all know it. There are two, views. One is that, you need hardware devices for the Metaverse experience, where there is a definite entry barrier today. But there is also a Metaverse that exists without such devices that one can use. Okay, there 5G will become very important. Now, my question is that, when you, do anything on the Metaverse, it cannot be what you can also do on a video.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because, you can have your training programs on a video. You can have a complete interactive video website. That means, but what does the Metaverse do? I think there's a lot to learn from the gaming industry. Okay? The way it is so immersive. So you have to be very immersive. There has to be real value that you can deliver. And is that going to be very difficult? I don't think so. I remember, there was a time when we built a community website called Sansal Gang of Girls. Okay? And it was a community website. At that time, Facebook had not yet, not yet launched in India. Okay? And somebody at Unilever took a leap of faith and said, we will build a community website. And it really, really helped the brand to notch up its position. So I think, today is the time to start looking at small experiment. I mean, I don't think we need to really go into a very huge investment, but do experimental stuff in the Metaverse. Yeah. So.
Got it. So Raveesh, for a reason you're in the center of the panel. So with the organizations that you belong to, maybe you can lay down some fundamental building blocks and one hype you can sort out, which is Meta as Metaverse or is Metaverse more than Meta? Let's start there.
No, Metaverse is far bigger than Meta. I think, start off, the idea is that, all of us are building for the Metaverse. I think it is not going to be owned by any one company. It's not going to be a closed system. It's going to be an interoperable system. And that's the beauty of it, right? I think what Meta has done is actually we are trying to take a leap and trying to lay down all the building blocks in place, right? Even, for example, the coding technology that exists right now today, we see that there will be an evolved version of that. So hence, there has to be someone who has to take that leap of faith, believe in the vision, and that's the role Meta is playing right now. Coming to your first point, right? I think what is extremely important for all of us is to understand the building blocks of Metaverse, right? And then we can try and see that how and when we can actually experience some of them. So there are actually 4 building blocks that exist today. Now, as I say this, maybe in a year's time when you talk to me, there might be a 5th building block as well. But as we stand here today, I think there is a space continuum from where we are. We are in the physical world right now. The first block that exists right now is an AR world, for which, by the way, which is augmented reality for a lot of you, and you don't need, you just need a mobile phone to try on the AR phenomena, right? So what AR does is it brings a lot of context, it brings a lot of meaning, and it also brings a lot of emotions. So there are brands out there who have already gotten onto the AR journey, and for example, there are brands like L'Oreal, Maybelline, who have actually delivered a lot of very good use cases and which has seen jump in sales, right? So AR is your first building block. You can do it using your mobile. The second building block is VR. That's where Chaaya was talking about devices, and you do require a headset. Now, where we are right now in headsets, I think we are far more evolved what we were, I think, 4 or 5 years back. In fact, if someone has looked at the Meta Pro, the Quest Pro version, right? So it's Pro 2, which got released in October. Yeah. It's for developers. It's not for, let's say, a normal person, but somebody who is, let's say, in the space for like 5, 6 hours, 7 hours during the day. So that is like way more, way less cumbersome to put on. And if you have seen Ray-Ban stories, hopefully the idea is that at some point, the device is going to be like a Ray-Ban goggles, right? I think that's what the team is trying to do. That's the second building block. But it's impacted by device and its availability. In India, for example, Oculus is not available, right? Number 3, by the way, it's a very interesting thing. It's avatar, right? So if you want to be inside the metaverse, avatar is basically, it cannot be without you. So the whole point is that you are in the center of the entire metaverse, and that's your digital identity, and you can land up there. And then only you can, be in a presence of maybe a friend who's, far off, maybe sitting in US and you are sitting in India. And an avatar is a way that you will, share that collaborated space with someone. Yeah. And that's here and now. I think already the Meta family of apps has tried to put all the avatars in place. So it used to be, there on Facebook and Instagram, and hopefully, even on the third platform, it will come soon. And then finally, you can, if you do get inside the metaverse, you can have an avatar of your own. And the final building block, right, which is, you will see it in its infancy, which is commerce, right? And as Vishal was talking about, right, marketing. So you can see some cases, for example, last year, Amitabh Bachchan sold his version of, at least Harivansh Rai Bachchan's version of Madhushala, his recital, for $415,000, right? You can buy a Nike, really cool collectible sneaker inside the metaverse, using, in fact, even on Instagram as well as inside the metaverse, using NFT. Also, certain wallets are there. So again, the idea is make it interoperable, make it available for everyone. But commerce is still like very, very early on. So yeah, so these are the 4 building blocks: AR, VR, commerce, and digital avatar, right? So once you understand that, you'll be able to get onto the metaverse journey, and you can do it right away using AR to start off with in this room.
No, fantastic. I think that's very helpful. I see a packed hall. So just building off of what you said, see, I think a lot of us, I think maybe good bunch of folks are in industry or in B2B or B2C space. The crux of the matter, Raveesh, is the use cases, where you apply. Vishal mentioned that, like, how do you really make it happen? So if we were to take a step back and look in the industry where cases are, so maybe I'll start with you, Vishal. As Deloitte, we often get asked, I'm okay to try, okay to innovate, but show me where to start. Where should I start first so that the top leadership, to your point, does not have a big sticker shock of budget? So what are some, I'll add, but maybe you can start on what are some practical use cases for an organization willing to start, has some funds, where should they start? And maybe we'll go to each of you.
Yeah, so maybe I can speak with a real world example that we at HDFC Life had done. So we had this brand campaign last year around the COVID batch graduating, right? So the campaign went live sometime in Jan or Feb last year, and it was kind of, recognizing the batch of 2022 and the lessons that they had learned. And so these were basically, you can say just teenage kids becoming adults, right? In that phase, and of course their parents were involved. So as an extension of that campaign, what we did was we thought of holding a convocation ceremony for the batch of 2022 in the metaverse. So that is what we did, right? And so what we did, we tied up with a few schools and kind of put it out on an open platform and invited people to join this convocation ceremony in the metaverse. So we set up this convocation ceremony primarily in the metaverse. We also then had Sunil Chetri, the captain of the Indian football team, come there. Our MD and CEO spoke in the metaverse. And then, there was an entrepreneur who spoke about her journey in the metaverse. So students were there, parents were there. So that was the kind of experimentation that we did. So it was, taking off in some sense from the brand campaign, which people were already aware of, building on top of it, and then driving greater reach, engagement, and involvement of the participants. So what it ensured is a lot of people came for the first time. They, experienced what a metaverse is to be, right? It was there for 2 or 3 days, and people could come and go out and experience it. But it was a good starting point for everyone on the branding side, right? I think on the business side, because the metaverse is typically in the virtual world, right? Today, a lot of D2C channels operate either via telecalling or they operate, let's say, on video call, etc. Now, if you can set up a virtual office pretty much which gives a live experience, so as to speak, right? That can be a potential game changer. So whether it's a bank branch or an insurance branch in the metaverse, right, where you can do pretty much all your activities within that space and do it in a safe manner, while at the same time you have, you can see the agent on the other side, or you can see the employee on the other side who's servicing the customer, right? So those kind of use cases over a period of time will start building up. I mean, just like people moved away a little bit from physical branches to digital branches or digital banking, digital insurance, we'll see a lot more of that happening in the metaverse, because in India, physical touches or human touch is very important. I may not call it physical touch, but human touch is very important. So metaverse provides that opportunity to blend into a truly omni-channel experience in that sense.
Just one question there, and then is, do you expect, we are hearing that millennials, Gen Z are likely to be more in that virtual universe. Are you planning to target and do special programs to reach out, or that's a little bit further down or something like that?
Yeah, I think for organizations, it depends on the kind of product offering that you have. For us, the product offering is life insurance. So that starts only once you start earning.
Yes.
You come into the insurable population only after you become an adult. Correct. For most practical purposes. Otherwise, your parents or guardians are taking that decision on behalf of you. But it's good to start engaging from a brand perspective with younger audiences. So it's not necessarily true that for insurance it may hold a lot of use cases, but Gen Zs are digitally savvy, metaverse savvy, and all of that, right? Over a period of time, they will recognize brands that they have seen in the metaverse, right? So, for example, I tell a lot of people that a lot of people now who are coming into the insurable population were born after after 94, which is when let's say the HDFC banks and ICICI banks and all the private sector banks started getting created, right? Yeah. So for them, they've seen physical branches of these brands or financial conglomerates, and they recognize them more than they might recognize, let's say, the public sector conglomerates. So there's a natural drift for them towards these brands. So similarly, new age brands, whether it's us, whether it's somebody else, you need to be present, where the Gen Z is present. Yeah.
Got it. Raveesh, you will be hearing wide variety of clients talk to you, experiment with some use cases, maybe a few highlights. Yeah.
So in terms of use cases, at least maybe let me start from my own area, right? I think financial services, as Vishal talked about, I think consultative selling is a great use case which has already, not in India, but India, we can try it as well. I think the device is the only problem, but otherwise consultative selling is something that Australia has taken it on. Collaborative shared workspaces where you can get with your team together is a great use case that is already ongoing. More than 7 million people across the world are using, by the way, 7 million. Wow. Right? More than 7 million people in the world are using Horizon Workrooms. That's one of the apps. There is a lot of training and learning and development use cases that are happening. So, Queensland University, Victoria University, Australia actually is seeing a lot of these early stage learnings and is giving, is actually teaching the rest of the world what you can do. So they over there, for example, very, very simple courses, right? Like an electrician, right? For that, because, it's a high-paying job in that particular geography. You actually get into the entire metaverse. You actually, you can, for example, cut the right sort of wires. You get a shock if you are cutting the wrong one. So there's a real life, example that is happening in that part. And there are additional set of industries on health and fitness which are taking this on. There is a lot of action in some of these spaces. So that's something that is here and now. You can look at the examples across the world. So that's what is happening. But just taking a step back, right? What is important is to understand of the three principles which go into the use cases. So whenever anyone thinks of the use cases, use case first, right? That's the right methodology. But think of three principles, that whether when you're delivering a metaverse experience, does it have presence? Does it have continuity? Because a lot of current metaverse is actually is siloed, metaverse.
Between channels, yeah.
Yeah, they're not continuous, right? But that's the metaverse, the true metaverse, and then interoperable. So these are the three principles, and think use case first, put these three principles on top of it, and then you'll see whether you're building the right metaverse or not.
Got it. Chaaya, I mean, you started with the pre-metaverse example at Unilever, but maybe
Yes.
today, what do you see?
Yes. So, taking off from what they have both said, one is definitely, the younger generations, they are already, for example, they are not on Facebook, but they are on Insta. Okay. They will be chatting on Snapchat. Okay. They use Insta for chatting rather than just, right? Those are the kind of insights we have. They would be expecting experiences to be very, very different. Okay, then coming to the experience itself, most use cases, like they said, are happening in silos. There's a AGM launch, there's a launch of a, some fashion line. But if we could tap, ideally, it should be a long-term strategy, even if you're doing smaller pieces. I think look at the entire consumer journey, and there will be pieces in that which could be filled by what you're doing. For example, your product demo, but it is a very interactive product demo, wherein the consumer can explore more than, maybe just one product, for example. Any say consumer durable or mobile phone. They are inside a virtual showroom, and there is a lot of interactivity, and they can go here and there, and then maybe they can try, if it's a wearable, they can try it on. They can, like Asian Paints would do, those, you can put your, the AR, you can put, try it in your home. You can build your model home, put the stuff over there, see how it fits. I think those kind of things built on the consumer journey, gaps in the consumer journey, can really help to build something that is long-term and not a one-off, and the investment is not really, justifying, yeah.
Fair point. I think a lot of what you said, I think, just as an aside, the report that was launched earlier today, it captures that both for B2B and B2C. And the part about immersive stuff, I see that, the part you were telling when we were chatting, sometimes it can get to you if someone has to. So the feeling of really being immersive is key. So in that spirit, maybe I'll start with you first. What are, maybe, and we'll go around, what is the one must-have that anyone here should look at as they explore Metaverse, and what's the one challenge? So one plus and one watch-out point, from your perspective.
So one must have from a consumer perspective, or from a consumer perspective, I think so long as you're targeting smartphone users, you're sorted, you can do something in the metaverse. And so long as you have, a product that can give a immersive experience, okay? That it has a lot of engagement. Now, by that, it could even be a soft drink, right? You want to be very popular
But
with
soft drink, how would you? Will virtually drink it? Or?
No, but you can create a treasure hunt, for example, at a very basic level, to engage that audience who's going to have fun.
Okay.
500 million, gamers already in the country. Maybe only, maybe 10 million are using a PS4. I'm not sure about the exact numbers, but they are looking for these experiences. And then you can, tap that kind of an audience, not necessarily only the younger, even the, this rummy is being played by the older people.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think, so long as you have an audience that you can engage with,
Yes.
you should be able to, do these experiments.
Got it. And anything to watch out for? One obstacle or something that we as a combined industry here needs to fix, from your view? Needs to, not even fix, address.
I think just, of course, we are still looking at the 5G,
5G.
Users. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the smartphone users.
So full 5G rollout will help a lot.
Will absolutely help to, launch this, yeah.
Okay. Raveesh, yourself?
Okay. So maybe not one, but maybe two things.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I think we are living in an exciting time, to be very frank, right? I think we can see some of this come to action. What one should do for sure is put on a Oculus headset.
There's one here, huh? There's one in the booths here. You all can try.
See the experiences, right? Play Beat Saber, play TT, maybe watch a movie on Arctic or Antarctica. There are brilliant Nat Geo movies that you can see. Just experience it, right? The whole point is, if you'll experience the immersive power, then you'll realize what exactly true immersive experiences are. Right? Number two, don't wait for the full metaverse to get built. I think the idea is to find the right use cases on the AR and the VR side. AR is live, VR is live. Both are get onto the journey. There will be a lot of learnings on the way. I think these are the two things that I would advise anyone. On the thing to watch out for is, while the hype is real, but please do understand what are the true use cases of Metaverse. I was having a discussion with one of the executive directors of a public sector bank. They made a branch live in Metaverse. That branch, by the way, yeah, they did, right? And kudos to them. But they, one of the things that they asked the vendor, ki, what next? The branch is there, it has information, but there is no other use case that the vendor also can provide. So the idea is to, while, you should experiment, but be very clear on the use case first sort of a methodology before even embarking on it. So it's a great place to be, experiment, but be clear on some of the use cases as well as the roadmap ahead.
And one obstacle or something that we as an industry need to sort out or clear or something?
See, the obstacle is, I think from an overall perspective, AR, there is no obstacle. I think there is a lot of investment that is happening. On the VR side, the device availability is a problem that we have to figure it out.
How about crypto, the currency aspect of commerce?
I think we are far,
far
crypto, let the crypto world sort itself out. I think right now, commerce in the metaverse, as I said, it can be done, okay, we discussed it, we didn't mention it over here.
Mention it,
but commerce actually has two live use cases. You can actually go ahead, do it using blockchain. You can also do it using digital wallets. So maybe the entire central currency happening in India might be a great step for it. So we don't need to worry about anything that is happening. Let the worlds figure it out as we go forward. But the metaverse is going to be an interoperable model, which will have digital wallets, digital currency, NFTs. All of them will be there with its right safeguards. So we don't need to treat it as an obstacle right now. We are too early in that stage.
Yes, Vishal.
Yeah, so maybe I'll start with the obstacle first. I think we are all like those blind men and women trying to figure what the elephant in the room is like, right? Yep. Somebody is holding the trunk, somebody is holding the tail, somebody is holding the leg, and that's your version of the elephant. So I think as marketers, and most of the people in this room are marketers, we have to invest a lot of time understanding what the metaverse actually is. Go out there, experience what the metaverse can be, put on the headset, what's happening in the world of AR, VR, understand how some of these technologies are changing, right? Because if you don't understand technology, you won't be able to understand what kind of human ingenuity in some sense is happening, right? And go out there and look at case studies in terms of what some of the other brands have tried. A lot of them might be just case studies in the sense that the true business ROI may not have come out, but they served a particular use case for a particular organization, right? So that's the first obstacle. We have to kind of invest our time and maybe some money in kind of getting ourselves up the curve on this technology. In terms of the opportunities, if I may call it so, we should go back and look at our research reports, consumer research reports. Look at what the consumer actually wants, right? And it need not be a tangible thing. A lot of this stuff can be intangible. And then kind of look at, once you kind of study these research reports, look at how you can kind of build some of the missing experiences which are there in today's world in the metaverse, right? Can the experience be very, very different from the physical world? And then maybe experiment with a few use cases. Experiment with small budgets is what I would say. Don't go the whole hog because, like most startups have high mortality rates. Similarly, if you're starting off with something new, but I mean, the whole purpose is you go through this learning curve over the next 2-3 years as a marketer before you kind of invest in something really, really big. I mean, otherwise you'll be stuck with that same question, branch bana diya, and you don't know. Koi aane wala nahi hai usme.
Correct.
That will be the problem. And by the time, let's say 3 years down the line, consumers are willing to come into the metaverse, this branch may look like a very old branch. So you have to go step by step. I think that's the opportunity, but go back to the research reports, identify the use cases or the consumer gaps, and try and fulfill them through these technologies.
Fantastic. I heard some bell here, but let me try to summarize. I think great set of takeaways. I liked a lot about what Raveesh said about the building blocks. That's something to deliberate and think about. There's fair bit of thing that Chaaya you talked about in terms of the device. How can Meta really not be video or video plus plus? So that's something. And then from Vishal, a fair bit of practical things of where to start. I'll just add from our perspective on Deloitte, when we see this, we encourage clients, and just very similar to what Vishal, to start somewhere. Looking at the sidelines and admiring the problem is not the answer. So if any of you are working with clients or you are part of the industry trying to shape the thing, our point of view would be to start small, take some steps, keep the foundation clear, have the use case approach that Raveesh and all of us talked about, and then to her point earlier, since it's been there for many decades, how do you make it real and happening in the metaverse? So thanks again. I think we could go on for a little bit more time as we were doing before the session, but all the best to everyone. Great talking to each of you, and all the best, panel. Thank you.
Thank you.